Okay, we'll go ahead and start. Glad to have you here. Philip Boyack with Film Gear. We've been going almost 10 years. I've been in the industry for about 30, almost 30, 20, 20, high 20s, something I was trying to count it the other day. Background is in video broadcast, so I'm dealing a lot with video editing, directing, shooting, compressing, doing all that stuff with video. So been involved with video for a long time, and for the past 5 years to 10 years we really focused on video conferencing. The last 2 years we focused heavily on soft codec video conferencing and implementing that into the core the boardroom and the conference rooms, training rooms, huddle spaces. So then COVID hit, and it's kind of changed things quite a bit. And more or less, it's gotten more attention to various individuals. Before, we kind of had to tell people about video conferencing and how it really can help you, and how you can save money on travel, et cetera, et cetera. If it's done right, it can be amazing, et cetera, et cetera. But now with COVID, it seems to be that everybody has understood a little bit of video conferencing and why and how and it works to the most part. Now we want to address and help those individuals, or us, all of us, understand just a little bit more the underlining tone of what video conferencing is, what goes against it, what helps it, et cetera, et cetera. And it's been interesting to learn even the top dogs that understand a lot of video, understand networking, are missing the point and not understanding exactly how video conferencing is working. There's some small pieces that we can fix and help and tweak that can make a tremendous difference. And so I'll give some of those pointers through in several of the things that we're talking about. As we're talking about different hardware and different things, I'll cover that. Um, the the fun thing is that we hear people talk about video conferencing, and yes, it works and it's been really great, but there's been issues. And what are those issues? Generally, it's something to do with the connection. Either the connection or the audio is not being heard, or I can't hear the audio, it's getting chopped off and hitting there and there, or the video is not good. It's either choppy video or it's clunky or whatever it is. So those are the three main pieces that we see people having problems with, and there's several things that can simply be done to fix it. But as you get into a larger conference room, larger training rooms, those fixes become obviously more expensive and jump up just a little bit more and get a little bit more involved. So we're going to start talking about the smaller, simpler stuff, and then we're going to move to the bigger stuff. And there's lots of little hardware pieces, mid-range hardware pieces, and expensive hardware pieces that you can implement fairly easily without us. Obviously, we'd love you to use us, but you can just implement it. So we're going to go over that, talk about that, things that you could buy and things that you could put in, or just simple things that you could do. First of all, I want to share just a little bit about Film Gear. Many of you know us and have worked with us before. Thank you. Those you have not, and those that have, I'm just going to cover just a little bit about what we've done and where we come from and who we are. Again, we've been doing video conferencing as well as all things video for about 10 years. Very involved in it, very ever-changing world of video and understanding what's next, what's the latest, greatest. We're heavily involved in that. We do things all the way from theater. We do love theaters. We don't do a ton of them. We generally do them for people that we know and close contacts or executives that want us to assist with them in their home. And it's probably the funnest thing that we do. So we love turning on a good movie. All the way from big, large venues, audio systems, to doing broadcast trucks. We were involved in doing several trucks. This is one was very fun because it was on the cutting edge. We did some brand new fiber transmission. So we just have one trunk line, simple fiber going out, controlling 18 cameras coming back into the main system here. Really, really cutting edge stuff and awesome to work with. So we do that, LED walls, done multiple LED walls, 30-foot LED walls, taking a lot of these pieces in and the processing that it takes to do so. Coming from news stations, we did probably 38 news stations across the country, and these were video walls done with LCD panels. You can see the lines there, put them together, and we calibrate each monitor and pull it together. LED walls are done very simple, very similar, but of course slightly different. And we're kind of moving to LED walls because they have dropped heavily in price, all the way to corporate and university venues for digital signage and control systems and projectors, etc. This is a simple conference room. We're going to talk about a few things right here. Those are sound bars and microphone bars at the front, pan tilt camera. But this is a standard setup for most companies, something like this. So what are you going to do in this type of environment? We're going to talk about that. This piece is on a 45-degree angle, difficult piece. We had to hang it and suspend those in the air, again, with a microphone bar and a sound bar. So that was kind of fun. Lots of different types of areas. This is the standard video conference in a boardroom. Has to work, has to work, has to be simple, and it has to work. And so we're going to discuss that a little bit more. Up to the complex boardrooms, and where we have artwork that rolls up and reveals the screen, a monitor, a camera that can be controlled, Crestron piece that can control all of the parts and pieces, the lights, the blinds, and the speaker systems. We can mute individual microphones that are there on the table, et cetera, et cetera. So all the way from simple huddle spaces to the big ones. What are the issues? Generally, audio, video problems. Audio is the biggest. Let's talk about what that is and what it regards. This is sadly all too often. We see this happen and happen often, where they're sitting for another 5 minutes and wasting the time trying to connect, can't hear. How do we plug this in, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, it's just such a pain. And we've seen this again all too often. Problem is, when this happens with that many people around it, we start to count the soft costs that are happening, of the salaries of those individuals around that table and the time that it's taking to get this connected and get this working, especially if those salaries are executives that take up a heavy salary. This is a teleconference system, which is a true telepresence. So a telepresence considers bringing the individual on the far end to be like that they're in the same room. So that has to do in the placement of the camera, the placement of the monitors, the level of each of those, the level of each of the individual, as well as the lighting. So lighting coming down from the top, we see that all too often in conference rooms, gives us raccoon eyes. This lighting, as well as other lighting that we can provide, comes down from a ceiling tile and can give us a very soft broadcast scoop, soft lighting, and bring that lighting onto the face. You can see the individuals have done well. So our goal, generally you're not going to have this in each of your conference rooms, but we want to bring the idea, or at least as much of this as possible, into the conference room, whether it's a huddle space, conference room, training room, boardroom, whatever it is. We want to bring that to the space. In a huddle space, we're going to do that very simply. It can be done simply with a small speaker microphone and a small camera. Most of the time, and this is one of the little tricks, most of the time we're going to have a small camera that I've got right now, which is a Logitech C930, one of our favorites. For the price, $120, it's amazing. And then we can go into a speaker microphone, something similar like this. This is a Jabra, or I've got a Polycom unit like this, a box. Each of those are full speaker microphone with processor, hardware processor built in. And I'll go over that a little bit further. But a lot of times the camera in this situation will be placed on the top of the monitor, and then we're using the microphone. The client will be using the microphone on the camera and the speakers on the monitor, and think that that's all okay. I'm going to tell you it's not. Don't do that if at all possible. So the microphones generally are pretty good with those things, and most people that are doing it are saying, yeah, it's fine. But it's not. You're going to run into situations where maybe you're not a part of it, where you're just not happy with the audio quality that's happening. Well, the soft codec that's built into Zoom, Teams, et cetera, we have that turned on, and it does a fairly good job, pretty good job. So if I've got my laptop and I'm speaking into it, it's taking it in the microphone, and then it's coming back out of the speakers. Well, the soft codec does not understand exactly what's coming and what's going. It does the best that it can, but if it's got a lot of stuff to figure out, it's going to start cutting people off. It'll cut off the front of the sentence. It'll cut off the back of the sentence, something of that nature, where we're going to lose that. and it's going to mumbo jumbo some things in together sometimes. Depends on the software, but that's what'll generally happen. And a lot of times, maybe you don't see it for a while, and it's fine for a while. But then you start getting some issues, and what happens is the client or the employee or whoever's using it loses confidence in that system. And so if they struggle with it, like that picture they were struggling with, then out they go, or they're going to shift over to a telephone, or they're going to go to another room, and the confidence is lost. And that's the last thing we want to do, which I'll get to in a minute. That kind of scenario can be to a huddle space or to a large venue, large training room, classroom like this. We can take the same ideas and mold them throughout, and it can be the exact same user experience from one specific tablet or whatever, however we design that, or keypad, that it's the same experience no matter where you're at. And that's one of our goals. The other goal, or our mantra, is we make technology disappear. What I mean by that is that if we've done our job, technology is unseen, or you don't see it, or you don't, there's no thought to what you're using. You're involved in the meeting, you're listening to the meeting, you're listening to the numbers and looking at the numbers, you're involved in the story of whatever's happening. But that technology that you're using is no longer at the forefront of your mind. It's gone. It's quote unquote disappeared. So that's our goal as we move into whatever space or help you with whatever else. And as you're trying to do it, the idea is to make it as good as possible. One, it has to be simple. Big point. Two, it has to work. And three, it has to be a good enough quality that you won't notice it. If the quality is down, you're going to notice it. If it's not working, something's amiss, you're going to see it. If it's not easy to use, you're going to see technology. So if we can get rid of those things, which we can, we'll kind of touch on those things, how you could do it yourself, or how you'd want to implement it in whatever space you want to. But that's our goal, is to make technology disappear. Few simple tricks. I was on a phone call, a Zoom call like this, and going over some products with a client, and he kind of stopped and asked me, he said, "Hey, you're cutting in and out." So I stopped and I asked him if he had a headset. Could he put on a headset? And he did. The problem was solved. So the problem seemed to be on our side, on my side. There was an issue with my voice cutting in and out, but the hardware on his side was the problem. So once we threw headsets in, and that the point is with a headset or earbuds, I'm using one right now that's going to capture the voice close to my mouth, and the audio is going directly in my ear. So the microphone's not going to pick up what's happening there. It's not going to do any kind of feedback. If there is any kind of echo feedback, the software will do the best that it can to cut that out of there. We don't want any echo, so we don't want any feedback. So it's going to do the best it can to stop that. However, if we can get hardware to handle that processing, that's even better, because now we can step away from a headset, because not everybody wants to be wearing headsets. But that is a simple trick. If you can get your employee to throw on a headset if they're at home, that will solve 99% of the audio problems on either end. Now we'll move over to video. We're going to touch on huddle rooms and home and small conference rooms and talk about the video, and then we're going to go a little bit more into the video, into the larger spaces. And then we're going to touch on audio, because audio is a little bit more difficult, more involved. We're going to talk about that after video. I'll give you kind of the scenario, the agenda. That after that, we'll discuss the different types of options that you get to do, and then we will take some questions afterwards. And we can dive directly into some of the issues and problems you've been having, and we can kind of put our finger on what that might be and what direction you could go. So I hope this will be helpful. And again, any questions you've got going on, please feel free to fill it out on the Q&A, and then we'll touch on those at the end. And hopefully we can send this recording out to others so they can see it as well. This video dealing with cameras. So I'm going to touch on a couple different cameras we've got. I'm using the one on the right, which is the Logitech C930E. The guts of the Logitech are very, very good. We've tested multiple cameras, and this specific camera or above is what we would recommend. It's about $120 camera, can be bought anywhere. Let me rephrase that. It used to be able to be bought anywhere, but it's very difficult to find, and many places are selling them for hundreds of dollars more, maybe $300 more, being very expensive because they know people can't get them and people want them. And right now, those types of things are being sold out very quickly. Logitech also has the middle one, which is called the Brio, and it's a 4K camera with HDR. That high dynamic range would assist with the image that you see here in the back. So the whiteboard is kind of blocked out with the light. That's dynamic range, and that would help and assist with that and giving us some more range there. The left one and the bottom one is this Aver camera. We're a fan of this one. It's about a $500 piece, and they are in stock and pretty easy to get. So we've sold these for clients that can't get the Logitechs and want something nicer and upper scale. This is a nice 4K camera, works very good for small conference rooms, and works well for pretty much any space. It's got a good angle of view, which we'll touch on in just a minute. And then on the bottom left is not the best camera, but I wanted to show it because it has a ring light. Like getting the light on the face, getting rid of the raccoon eyes, and getting that lit up. It's not the best, but the idea of it is fantastic. So think about that in your implementations. The one on the right, excuse me, the Jabra, purchased by Jabra, what used to be called Panacast. It is the Jabra Panacast now. It's a 180-degree camera. So it sits back, and we've used them in training spaces, you know, wide open spaces where people, it's all hands on deck, people come in and they're standing throughout. Now this can sit back and capture the whole thing, and it listens, and it can zoom in on and grab individual faces or a group of people that are speaking and then go back out. So it's fantastic in that sense. Price point, about $700, if I recall, those ranges. So in those cameras, for example, this camera here has what's called smart framing. And that smart framing is fantastic because back on these cameras, the top right camera, that camera that I'm using here is super wide angle. Well, the trick that I was going to mention earlier is many people will put this camera on top of their monitor in their conference room. That's a problem, and the reason for that is the viewer or the far end person or people are viewing the meeting from afar. Number one, their wide angle view puts them way back away, and number two, it puts them way up high looking down from heaven. So the goal we want to do is to bring that shot in as close as we can. And we do that by possibly using a pan tilt camera. So I've got one of those in the back there, a pan tilt camera that can pan, tilt, and zoom. So we can set the camera up in a large conference room so it's back a little bit on the wall, but yet I can zoom in, frame the shot that we need, making the individual on the far end feel like they're at the table. So again, we're getting back to that telepresence as much as possible, if at all possible. So that's one thing that we can do, is bring them like they're sitting at the table. Many people will mention, well, I've got a chair there at the end of the table. You just move the chair out of the way and that's not going to be used. So during a video conference, then that individual, the far end, takes the place of that chair. We'll move that in. So if we don't want to go with a pan tilt camera, we've got this camera specifically that I'll show you in a minute is about $1,000. Fantastic camera. I'll go over the pieces on that one. Other cameras about $1,300 and on up to $2,500, $3,000. So they can get up there, but we generally sell the one that's about $1,000, and it does fantastic. If you don't want to spend that much and you want to go with this camera, be sure you put it at the bottom of the monitor. Get it at least at the level that you can be. The framing, you're still going to be wide angle unless you go with something like this. There are several cameras that can do that. A 4K camera can, so the Brio could do that as well. And then we could artificially or digitally zoom in and bring that shot in. And it can do what we're showing here, smart framing. So it can grab the individual's faces, and it can do that in real time. So as someone's speaking, it can zoom into their face and then bring it back out to the group, and zoom into a group of individuals and bring it back out. And of course, we're not going out further to get this whole big shot of the conference room. We're going to stay where we're at, right, as close as we can. Again, the telepresence as much as possible. Most of the time, we're going to set it up and lock it in place and not turn on the smart framing, because sometimes that is distracting. Wait, what's going on? People aren't ready for it, understanding it. So we'll generally set it up and frame it, and they come in, they use it, whether it's a pan tilt camera that we can optically get in closer and get it, of course, a nicer, beautiful image that way. And it stays there locked down, and that's the way that it stays. But at least we get the shot. And here are more instances of mounting those. I'll skip forward to a shot right here. That's what we like to mount them on, is right below the monitor. Different other types of mounts and ways to do them. And the bottom right is going to show the camera being mounted in the middle of two monitors. We can slide that mount in between the two monitors to get the camera out in front. And that's a great solution. This is not showing the audio, but specifically the video, and how the video is placed and allowing that far end individual to feel like they're in the meeting and a part of the meeting. This is the camera that we have helped design and OEM, and it's one of our cameras. Our name's on it. It's a fantastic camera. It's $1,000, which is just unheard of. Gives us HDMI, gives us SDI out, and LAN. So I can send all 4 videos out if I want to. I can stream it through the LAN. I can go through the USB. I can go SDI, HD SDI, as well as HDMI. So those 4 video feeds out. Plus I have control through 232 there, and also 485, but generally it's 232. So if we're using a Crestron control system, I can control that. But the last and not least is that LAN connection also serves as a PoE, power over Ethernet. That's a big, big deal for us, because if we're putting a camera over to the side, down on a screen, putting it someplace, wherever we're putting it, I can send a Cat5 connection over to that and power the camera, and that's a big, big deal. Okay, some of the other options we have, I've shown you the audio pieces that we have here. On the top left is the VoxBox, or now they joined forces with Polycom and, boy, I just left my brain, Plantronics are one and the same now. It's called Poly now, and they've got the top left one. It used to be the VoxBox, now it's the Callisto 7200. Fantastic unit, about $300. Likewise, the one down below. Let me go over a couple differences between them. So the Calypso, the VoxBox, sounds amazing. It really, really works good. At the end, I'll switch back and forth if you'd like me to between the different ones, and you'll be able to hear them. But it really does sound great. It works good in a room for about 6 to even 12 individuals. Kind of pushing it at that, but in a conference, in a office space like this, or at a home space, these types of units work fantastic. So I don't have to wear my headset. It has the hardware processing built in and can handle all of that. Works great. The Jabra, this is the Jabra 710. They do have step downs that start in the $100 price point, $150 price point, $200 price point. This is about the $300 price point. So both of these are in the 300. We found that the $300 level gives us the audio quality that really is quite good on both the microphones going in as well as the sound quality coming out. But we're most interested in the microphone quality, making sure that as we're talking into it, that it sounds great to you out there and the far end. That's kind of our goal. And of course, like I said, the hardware processing is there. This one has, so the VoxBox has Bluetooth as well as USB connection. This one has Bluetooth as well as USB connection, has kind of this cord wrangler, but also has this USB wireless dongle. Very key in instances where we've run into, you've got kind of a huddle space, monitors on the wall, computers on the back, cameras there on the wall tied to the computer, but what do you do with the audio? So we could use a speaker soundbar like on the bottom right. We'll talk more about those, but we could also use these. And we've done that in the past where we've taken this to the table and we've plugged this USB cord into the table, because generally there's power, but we just can't run a cable over there, no cord rails or whatnot to get to the wall. But I can plug it in and give us power. And then I take this wireless dongle and plug it into the computer and lock it in. The last piece on this one that's important is I can daisy chain a second unit to it. So if my conference room table is just a little bit bigger, I can get a second unit and daisy chain them together. And now the computer sees one, but I actually have two. That's key. And that has been proven to be quite useful. So that's a great unit to use. The other one, this one's key because it's about a 6-inch diameter speaker microphone. So it's got a 4 microphone array. I can put it on the table. I can buy a unit that has a keyboard, so I can type a telephone number into it. I can have it be a telephone and a video conferencing piece. So that's been a great unit, about $800–900 for that guy. This is about $700. But what's nice with this is it can be daisy chained via Cat5. So I can put them up in the ceiling, daisy chain, let's say 8 of them together. So I've done this in training rooms, not training, just open spaces where they wanted to have all hands on deck with that Panacast camera. Lots of people there. So you got a guy in the back that has a question. Well, this can now pick him up and also deliver sound to him. So you put 6, 7, 8 of those around, and we can daisy chain them around just via Cat5. So that works out fantastic. The owl in the middle is a 360-degree camera that can be placed in the middle of the table, giving us audio, a speaker microphone, as well as the camera that views everybody. And as this specific one, about $1,000, can zoom in on individuals that are speaking and then zoom back out. That's been good. And then the speaker soundbar we talked about before. We'll talk about that a little bit further. And then on the top, we have processors. So once we leave this realm and we have to go to a training room, boardroom, conference room where we have speakers in the ceiling or speakers wherever, and microphones are going to be separate, we have to go into a processor. So the top right is a fairly inexpensive processor. They range from $1,500 to $5,000, maybe $6,000 even, but generally about $4,000 is the ones that we buy. So Biamp, Phoenix, multiple options are there. But that's where all the microphones are going to come into. That also delivers us a USB connection, delivers us a VoIP connection, a POTS connection, whatever we want to do. So telephone, all of that control. Plus, we have the ability to tune and balance and make that sound amazing. The sound from papers and pens, I don't have any around me, excuse me, tapping on the table, we can tune and balance that type of scenario out. So it's not grabbing that, but it's grabbing the other stuff. Microphones and speaker bars, very awesome in the sense that they can pick up amazing audio. And this one in particular by Nuriva, they are an amazing microphone. They use what's called MIST technology. Does a great job grabbing the entire room. And so it'll grab that from their 84 microphone array, turn it into a MIST technology. It'll grab the entire room, and it does a good job of it. Likewise, like the Jabra being able to be daisy chained, I can do 2 of these as well in a room. They're about $3,000 a piece times 2 if you wanted to, but I'm not needing to use an external processor. So very simply installed, very simple to put in and integrate, and it also works. But that's kind of the level of the price point. So I want to mention that there's kind of a break from that point. So we've got $300. We've got a couple other ones that are $1,200. This one on the bottom right is about $1,200. Some of them are in that $1,500 price point for a speaker soundbar. Nuriva's got one that's no camera, but speaker soundbar that sounds really quite good. Then they've got the one for $3,000, and then we've got other options that I'm going to show you in a minute that are combinations. But it's that level that we're at. So we're going to discuss that just a little bit further of what other options are in that price point that's $3,000 and below. And then once we break that price point, we jump into a whole different realm, and it'll jump quite a bit actually. So I don't want to scare you, but there is a gap, and I'll show you the reasons why there's a gap, but what it is. Okay, so more on microphones and speaker bars. And I've got a couple of these back here, and we'll touch on those in just a minute. But the middle one right there in the picture is about $1,200, has a camera. The camera looks great. It has compatibility to move as well. And I can move that on the Zoom room. I can move that from the far end, and then the speaker microphone goes in. The bottom right is an Nuriva single bar, so about that $3,000 piece. Sounds fantastic, works great. We place the camera right on the bottom, and then that right up on the top. And then the bottom left is an all-in-one unit, which I'll touch on, but that has the base unit that controls the tablet. It has the tablet itself. It has a camera, it has microphones, it has speaker, and it also has a computer built in to run Zoom or other. Zoom is important for that. So now if we're using some type of soft codec, that's a dedicated computer for that. And I'll get into that in just a minute. Okay, I want to show a video now about, it is by Shure. We're going to step up in quality. So I want to make sure that you understand we're going to take a little bit of a leap in audio, but it explains in general. So just look at it in general of what we're trying to do and what ease of use things are and where we're trying to gather the quality.
The Shure Microflex Advance MXA 710 linear array microphone delivers high-quality audio capture in premium AV conferencing environments. Available in 2 lengths and 3 colors. Its aesthetic design blends into modern collaboration environments. The sleek, linear form factor allows for placement horizontally or vertically around a display, or on a wall, ceiling, or table. Steerable coverage captures audio anywhere in the room with up to 4 or 8 lobes. Autofocus technology fine-tunes each lobe position in real time when participants shift in their seats. Onboard IntelliMix DSP eliminates the need for additional DSP hardware for smaller rooms. For larger rooms or situations where individual processing on each microphone channel is desired, the MXA 710 can be used with the IntelliMix P300 DSP or IntelliMix Room software-based DSP. With Shure Audio Encryption, audio connections between every Shure component in the room are secure. Dante Domain Manager compatibility allows access to be controlled, providing peace of mind for confidential meetings. Just one network cable carries Dante and AES67 audio, control, and PoE power. LED status bars at each end indicate microphone status and offer adjustable colors and brightness. Designer System Configuration software provides streamlined setup and configuration, while System On Audio Asset Management software provides remote management and troubleshooting of all Shure Network devices through one convenient portal. The MXA 710 linear array microphone joins the Shure Network Systems product portfolio to deliver premium audio performance with unmatched ease of deployment.
Okay, so talking about audio, you kind of saw, I like their graphics, the way that they have those graphics showing around the audio that they're capturing. And that truly is what the microphones are doing. It can capture so far, it can be zoomed in to grab an individual, but it's not going to grab the side stuff. When it's zoomed in, if there's a reflective piece around there, it's going to pick that up. So I can be zoomed in this way, but it's going to bounce off of there and grab something back there. So keep in mind the rooms that you have, if they're windows, lots of whiteboards, glass whiteboards, et cetera, that's going to be an issue. So watch that stuff. You can work on the aesthetics as well as helping the audio in the individual rooms. But that, I like the direction that it goes. This is the new piece that Shure has. It's deriving from what they had before, which is the MXA 910. It's a ceiling microphone, 2x2 grid, so with 9 lobed microphones in there. So we can beamform that array, and for example, we can block out some of the window areas there. We can block out the door, but we can bring the lobes directly into the individual around the table or more to where the presenter is going to be. So we have lots of control with this type of unit and the processing that goes into it. Likewise, if we can't go in the ceiling or that's something different, about in the same price point as something like this that we have, doesn't have to be Shure, but I will say that there are differences between the brands by way of quality. We have swapped out other brands for Shure. Now that sounds fun, but there is a difference. There's a definite difference in the quality of the microphone, and that is to be heard on the far end in the recordings and everything else. So when we put these in, these are the best that we've been able to implement. We love them, they work well. And we've got the boundary microphone in the top right, that'll capture up to about 3 or 4 people. The podium microphone on the left captures 1, maybe 2 people. They sound amazing. If you really want to have the best quality, that's it. It gets the audio directly to the mouth. Of course, you have the ceiling microphone that works great, but again, it's further away from the mouth. So if we can get one of these and get that closer to the mouth, it's going to be all the better. Likewise, a podium mic right there, it's going to be the best. Or a headset. Cheap headset is going to be number one, the best, but that can't be done all the time. So podium microphones, like I mentioned, can capture one individual, maybe two, and of course we can put the other things around there. This system works great because I can do a head-worn microphone. If I've got a trainer up in front, I can do a lavalier microphone. I can do stick microphones. I can do multiples of those. I can have a couple boundary microphones, a couple podium microphones. All of these different options can be off of the same system, same charging station, directly derived into the same system, going out to a Zoom meeting, a Teams meeting, a phone call, whatever. All of these can come in and collide together, which works out great. So I was going to mention touch screens is something different that not a lot of people are thinking about, but touch screens have really shown some promise and a lot of people like them. So a touch screen, I'm going to go over Zoom rooms in just a second, but touch screens delivers something like a Zoom room, or specifically a Zoom room, in an all-in-one solution that you hang on the wall and plug into your Wi-Fi. Give it power and plug into Wi-Fi, and that's it. You tie it in and away you go. Sometimes the video quality, the camera, the audio, the speakers, and the microphones are not the best. So we can help you derive which one's going to be the right one. But you've got D10, we've sold many of those and implemented. Lots of people love these types of things to where, you got D10, you got Aver, you have Avacor. There's a couple different brands out there. But they're great. Like I said, we've had multiple departments that keep using the one room because it has this piece in there. It's just fun and easy to use. And all of this stuff can be transferred to the far end. So the far end can see that, they can tie back. Anyway, it's this whiteboard that's fully interactive with the individuals in the room as well as the far end. So keep that in mind. They're really nice in that sense. We can do a lot of those same similar activities in a Zoom room without a touchscreen, but a touchscreen is, as you know, when you walk up to a board and you start doing stuff, everybody likes to play. And so it does really provide some creativity to your group, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of fun. Let me step back just a little bit and turn this off. I'm going to show it's different camera and show just a little bit what we have going on here. Okay, so this, make sure there's no glare. This is the Poly X50. Works amazing in the sense that it's easy to use, easy to set up, easy to remotely control. So we've got multiples of these deployed, and we can control it from off-site. If there's any issues, we can log in, reboot it, check the firmware, update it, adjust the settings, whatever. So I'll go over and show you what that is. But this, I want to go over what the Zoom room is and just touch on that a little bit. If you haven't seen a Zoom room, you need to. That's what's made, I think, the soft codec really work for the workspace. So on my calendar, I can set up a meeting for a specific room, and that'll reserve the room. And as I walk into the room, it'll show me this here. I'm looking back here because right now I have digital signage running. So in a Zoom room, they include digital signage, they include the room scheduler. So I can have an iPad on the outside of the room with a room schedule, and I can reserve that room. Or if I've got a multiple conference room facility, I can look at a map on that, pull up a map, pulls up the map of the space, even other floors, and I can see which rooms are available. And I don't have that here. But I can hit that map, say, all right, snowbird room is open. We're gonna go grab that. So you can hit on that, reserve it for however long you need it, hit reserve, and that tells the calendar, so everybody else will know that calendar, that room is taken, and you can go up and meet in that room. So it's an individualized as well as an immediate reservation type thing. And I can tell, by looking down the space, I can see which ones are red, which ones are green, which ones I can go into and take, and which ones are taken. Then when I get there, if I've already set up the meeting to begin with, this digital signage will turn off however much time, like say 5 minutes before the meeting, it'll turn off. And as I hit this here, you'll see that switch off. And now that's the room meeting. And I can have this customized and set up however you want. Walk in there and it'll have my meeting listed, what the meeting name is, and I'm ready to go. Here's the difference. If I set up a Zoom meeting in a conference room, I have to have a computer in there. Now, if I bring my laptop, I have to plug the camera in and the audio piece into it. So I have to have some kind of USB connected to it. If I put a computer in the room, maybe there's already a computer in the room and I've got a keyboard and mouse outside of it. That could work also. We can get that working. We can plug the audio pieces that you've got there, and you can also put your camera tied into that, and you can log in and start your meeting. What we're trying to do is to help you make it as simple as possible and without a big budget, but just make it simple, number one, as I mentioned before. Number two, make it work. And number three, have the quality be high. So we've talked about the video, we've talked about the audio, the quality of that, and the different things we can do. Now we're going to talk about the simplicity of it. So as I walk into here and I hit the meeting, if I hit that meet now, meeting loads up. Just like if I had it scheduled, I walk in and there's my meeting. Now we're loaded up and people are already joined and they're in, and I start my meeting. There's none of this working around and trying to connect to or logging in and, oh, I forgot my username and my password or whatever it is. I don't have to do any of that. And so your employees, your people around using that particular conference room, one, it's become easy. So if we make it easy, anybody can use it. Two, if we make it work every time, they're going to have confidence in the first couple times they use it, and then now they're going to come back again and again. Three, if the quality is high enough, if you have a good camera and good audio, and that's going to all work together, they're going to use it again and again. So we've seen this over and over again. This has made it work very, very simple. We put this into training rooms where we have two cameras, one at the front, one at the back. And I can hit on here and I can control and switch between the two cameras. One at the front camera, one at the back camera. Then if I grab one of the cameras, I can hit zoom in, pan, tilt. Now this camera is a 4K camera. It's not a true pan tilt camera, but it's doing it. I can also set up presets. So if I hit that preset, go back and forth. So it gives us some control to the individual camera. I can see chat, I can start recording, I can see who's here, mute it, stop the video, all the stuff we can do with elsewhere. So that's been great. Room schedulers, they can be put on the wall. It can be put on glass walls. So we've done a lot of these guys here. This is a frame for an iPad. Put them on glass, put them on walls, makes it very, very sleek, very thin, and we run power to it. So now the iPad shows the room name, the graphic of the room, and the schedule of what's happening. And then I can tap on it and reserve the room and away it goes. So these work out great there. These can also be made into a magnetized piece. So if I have the frame and the iPad here, this could be magnetized up onto the wall and being charged through that magnet. And when I walk into the room, pull it off the wall, go do whatever I need to, go back to it, snap on the wall it goes, and off charging it goes. I can also have one like this that's magnetized to the table and pull it off. So you got that as an option. The piece with the Zoom room, you want to make sure that you do have a computer, and it must be a dedicated computer. And that computer can't be running extra stuff. So a lot of people will talk to us, they say, well, we already have a computer. Okay, that's great. You can use that computer, but it can't do anything else. Because once we turn on Zoom Room with it, it confiscates the entire computer. So don't think that you can do both at the same time. It's too convoluted to do that. If you need a computer up there, great. But generally, when we're running a Zoom room, I can walk in with my laptop and I can wirelessly connect to this room and just share my screen. And I can do it without typing in any codes as well. So this has a sharing code up here, a sharing key. And you've seen that with Apple TV, et cetera. If I want to wirelessly present from my laptop to the screen, I need to figure out which one it is. Okay, it's that Apple TV. I click on that, and then I need to figure out, okay, what's the code? Type in the code, and then there it goes. Zoom has integrated a feature which has worked really slick. You've got multiple conference rooms, and you walk into one conference room with your laptop, and all you do is hit share screen, and it will do an inaudible sound, microphone and speaker, back and forth, communicating very quickly to determine which room you are in. So you don't have to tell it which room you're in. And likewise, I don't need to place the key in it anymore because it's doing this little connection. Of course, I have the controls and I can turn that off and lots of security, but that is a fantastic feature. Boom, share my screen, and now I'm in here. There it goes. That shared screen can go up to the monitor that's in the room, as well as being shared out to the Zoom room, to the Zoom meeting that you have. Anyway, back to this Polycom unit. That is the speaker sound bar. So you got microphones in here, you have sound in here, you also have a 4K camera, but this has an integrated computer to it as well. So you can buy a bundle, which has been great, about $3,500 for this unit. So it comes with the base, comes with the tablet. This is a PoE powered base. So it's got a Cat5 connected to it. So it gives us network connection as well as power. And then this piece here does require power and a network connection. And then I can send out from here up to the screen. Anyway, this includes the computer, the microphone, the speaker, the camera, the tablet, and the mount for $3,500. Pretty good. So if you're looking for a simple solution, you just want to hang it up and be done and run a Zoom room, that's it. If you don't need a Zoom room and you want to do something different, this is a very good option, $1,200 for something like this. Camera, speaker, microphone, hang it up, plug it in, just one USB cable, and you run it off your laptop and away you go. So that's a simple solution in that regard. And then, like I mentioned, we've got specialized cables we can help direct you to that are long distance, so 100 feet, 100-foot cables. And I think that's about it. Let me switch cameras back over here and think about some questions that you're going to be coming up with, because that's where we're at next. So let's do that. Do you have any questions I can answer? Any issues that you're having with your facility that I can assist with? If not, we'll kind of have a break and segregation, and we'll stay with questions, but thank you all that need to go. That's it for today, and happy video conferencing.